Book Club, The Feminist Lie. It was never about equality. Hey, it's Prince of Queens, and I had a quick thought. First and foremost, I suggested to Miss Misa that she read the book The Feminist Lie. It was never about equality, which came out earlier this year and was written by somebody that goes by Bob Lewis. There's an interview with him on Honey Badger Radio if you are curious, and it occurred to me that maybe Misa, myself, perhaps my friend Space Pan, and maybe a few other people might want to all give ourselves maybe a month to read it and then do a live stream discussing the contents, raising money for a charity perhaps. Would people watch and maybe read the book themselves? I'll be like a gay YouTube Oprah with a live chat. The book was written by a man that worked as a paralegal in family court for decades, and he saw firsthand the way that feminists made it so that women can abuse alimony, custody, child support, and probably worst of all, the Duluth model of domestic violence, which has all sorts of crazy loopholes that make it even more extreme than it had already sounded to me, which I can't quite remember, so I'll read the book. So obviously, I want to read the book as it's somebody with legal knowledge, and it was written to be digestible to the average individual, as opposed to these long and drawn-out academic criticisms of feminism, which I don't particularly want to read myself. Apparently, of course, feminists are furious that this book was written, and they've been trying to dox and harass the author. This reaction for feminists to go above and beyond to silence anybody that might expose their corruption by any means necessary is obviously not uncommon. But what occurred to me as an additional thought around this issue of why women's liberationists in the 1960s were fighting for freedom for women, and now feminists these days just spend most of their time attacking people who say the wrong thing. It occurred to me, a woman on Real Time with Bill Maher named Caitlin Flanagan said very eloquently that the culture war is over, the other side won, and freedom of speech is nothing but a nuisance. I think this illustrates perfectly well why exactly feminists constantly get offended and have a never-ending list of words that are supposed to be problematic. Here's the thing. Despite the fact that in 2016 and early in 2017, conservative politicians did rather well in the West, feminists still have all the power, not just in media and academia, but also in laws like the Duluth model. They can get most of their ex-husband's money if they break up with him, and they can lie about him to speed up the divorce process and ensure that this will happen quicker and that she will get more money, and there are feminists that work in the court system that will train her to do just that. Women can rape young men, get pregnant, and do basically the same thing in many instances. She can always choose to have an abortion, but men are stuck with zero options about whether or not he wants to have a kid, not to mention whether or not he gets to see the kid, and he'll basically always have to pay the bill unless the woman can't afford to go to court at all. Education drastically favors young women and girls. Employers, in probably the majority of jobs, favor female applicants in the current year, and a lot of companies have very strict double standards of behavior to make it so that men have to walk on eggshells around the women of the company. This entire dynamic was put into place after 40 years of feminism slowly creeping into every facet of culture in the West that it could, which was practically everything. And though they faced some slow years during the Bush administration, they came back with a vengeance during the Obama years. Thus, these are people who have so much power that they had to make it a thought crime to even question their power. They proclaimed it to be a sexist slur to let them know that there seems to be a mass left-wing hysteria around Trump's presidency. Let alone, if you claim that rape culture hysteria is a thing, they'll freak out and say that that's sexist. They freaked out about James Damore writing the word neurotic in his Google memo, which is a technical term, And they even created new silencing words like mansplaining. And of course, they get to conveniently sit back and claim that men have all the power, because men are generally the ones working 80-hour weeks as politicians and in high-earning careers. Meanwhile, women actually spend more money than males and have all of the systemic power in law and the privileges of social services that males don't have. So when feminists language police you, even on a small level, and are claiming that such and such a word offended them, what they are really doing is shutting you up so that you won't dream of getting near their fortress. And what is their fortress? Well, I gather that this book, The Feminist Lie, It Was Never About Equality, will probably do a pretty good job explaining it. Let me know if you are interested in reading it and participating in the stream. Tell me in the comments, and stay tuned.